Nothing much.
Just hanging out. Yes, sir. But I thought we were going to get here a little bit late because Madeline. But turns out I drove here. So
already, dude.
He's already on you.
I haven't even started it.
But,
So you guys are second generation martial artists, I would believe, right? Is that correct?
well, of the Grandmaster Broadway area, the third generation.
Correct. But from your lineage,
From our dad. Yes, sir.
second, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So so you guys have some cool information we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, I want to talk about how long I've known y'all. I've known y'all a very long time. We didn't have a really close relationship, but I've literally known y'all since y'all were like this tall.
Yes, sir.
If no one is seeing this or looking at this, it was very short. I would say, how old were you guys whenever you started training?
Go ahead, Mel.
I was 8 years old.
Okay, you were 8.
I was about 4.5.
Right, and was that when the gym was started or before that?
That was that was before Benton Martial Arts started. Benton Martial Arts started when she was 9 and I was 5.
Okay,
And
so right there, close by.
Yes, sir.
So then I've known y'all that long.
Yes, sir.
I remember you guys being those little kids running around in the back of the gym to set up those first series of classes. No, it's awesome though. It's great, and congratulations on being the youngest people ever on this podcast. So
Yes, sir.
out of almost 200 episodes, I'd say, hey.
Are we
getting
the
there.
200th one?
No, not yet. But we're close. I'm saving that for someone else. I like you guys, but no, we have something kind of crazy planned for that one. But yeah, so tell me about that. We can start. I mean, y'all can argue over who wants to start first, whatever. But we can let's get into how you guys started out in martial arts and how it's progressed, and kind of what you would want everyone to know about this.
So we started out in Karate Mafia.
Shout out.
Yes, the place of cleanliness, as we all know. But I would the first thing I remember training, starting off, is staying in the back room with no AC. And when we get done training, when my dad would get done training me and Madeline, teaching us, I would come out and there would be a little TV, and my uncle had bought a PS3. And we would play Red Dead Redemption while everybody else was training and there was like music playing, like gangster rap, and I'd be over there, me and Mel would be over there like trying to not die from a mountain lion. So it's pretty cool, actually. That's the earliest memory I have.
That is like the only memory I don't have from it.
Dude.
What about you, Madeline?
Yeah, well, we were homeschooled. I think we were homeschooled at that. No, we weren't homeschooled yet.
Yeah.
So we would go do school, and then we would come and train in the back with no AC. And then we would chill. So, yeah, just my memory is just school and then martial arts. School, martial arts. There's nothing else. So
is that something you guys organically, like, I know it may be something you started out young, but did you decide, hey, we really love this and want to put everything into it? At what point did you think you decided that?
Maybe just like a few years ago, pretty much 3 years ago, I wanted to devote my life to this, because up until that point, I still had thoughts about going, because I was homeschooled, I still had thoughts about going back to school and trying other sports. But really up until about 3 years ago, when I was about 16, I thought, like, man, this could actually be an awesome career path and take me places. I hadn't been anywhere yet, but the thought of going places and doing things in Taekwondo, that's when I started to realize I want to do this.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine was like last year.
Okay.
If you would have asked me that question when I was 14, I would have told you, no, I'm not teaching classes. I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. But now it's like I can't see myself doing anything else. I'm not good at anything else. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do anything else in my life except martial arts and teaching and competing. That's it. So. And
that I feel like that just flipped. Did it flip whenever you guys kind of took the gym to the next level and started taking on more roles, like more leadership roles?
I think it did for me.
Yeah.
It took a lot of competitions.
Yeah.
And just kind of teaching my own classes and then seeing the improvement in our students, where it really like clicked for me. It's like, oh, I can help this person be better, both physically and mentally. I want to help others.
Yeah.
So
I'd say it really clicked when my dad would finally look at us and go, okay, go teach that class. And your creativity box would just open up. There wasn't a set schedule which you had to do. It's like, oh, well, I have to really think outside the box and get creative now and teach this class. And that's where it started for me, not competitions, mainly just interaction with people at the school. And when my dad finally said, okay, son, go do what you want to do. Go do that. So after years of, Aiden, you can't do what you want to do. That's a horrible idea. It's like one day he's like, okay, now go do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the art in what you guys train in is extremely, it's heightened in self-discipline. So like years and years of self-discipline, it's interesting to see how someone can pivot and turn that into a business model and make it work well too. And then also still compete and do it all as a family.
Right.
Since Marshal's not here today, I want you guys to tell me, and Marshal's been on before, so that's your guys' father, but I want you to tell me like how the gym started and what it's turned into today and the evolution of that, if y'all could break that down for me.
Well, my dad had a job at the Bossier Parish school system, and he was a math teacher. And one day they called him up and they said, hey, basically we don't need you anymore. And my dad was like, oh, wow. So I have to call my wife, in the middle of the day, and I have to tell her at work that, hey, I just lost my job and I don't know what to do. And my mom said, okay. When he called her and he told her, she wasn't mad at him. From what he told me and she told me, she wasn't mad at him. And they went home. And my mom said, hey, we're gonna go out to eat and we're gonna figure this out. They went out to eat, and my mom said, Marshall, why don't we figure out something you really love to do and not something that you just have to have as a necessity. And my dad said, well, what would that be? And my mom said, well, I remember when I first met you had a love for martial arts. And then my dad said, okay, what does that mean? She's like, well, probably need to think of going down that alley of martial arts again. And really, my mom sparked that idea again, and my dad took a chance, and that's where it all started. So.
And you guys, from then, like we talked about, you started training with him and then kind of started the gym in the back of the other gym. And then slowly grew from you guys as the students to bringing on other people. And then now, how many students do you guys have today?
Over 100.
Really?
Yes,
that's
sir.
awesome. And that's been a huge progression. And not only that, let's talk about what you've done, like what you guys have done from taking it, from something so small, growing it to what it is now, and then how that translates into actually then competing, getting in a network with other schools nationwide, and developing a team to where you go compete overseas.
Go ahead, Mel.
Well, when we moved to farther in Benton, in that little shopping center area, we didn't have a whole lot. I mean, our workout area was half the size we have now, if that. So yeah, we had to really build that up, build our student base up. So I mean, if you're just talking about me and Aiden, we started out like Miyagi. We just cleaned.
Really, actually.
We didn't teach at that time, so we were still like, still taking class in the junior program. So we would just clean, do our chores, and then take class. And then we didn't really start teaching until we did our third move, which is where we are now. And because we did grow a lot, and then we moved, I think, was it 4 doors down to where we are?
Yeah, now it's about 4 doors now.
Yeah, and then we got a bigger space, bigger classes. So, and then we really started helping teach and grow then. I think I was I was 11. No, I was 13 when I started helping. And then Aiden had to get a little older and higher rank. So, but yeah, then that's when we started. Then that's when we started moving from just cleaning to just assisting in classes, and then eventually teaching our own classes.
Yeah.
So.
And then from there, what point did you start competing at a level to where it grows like to a national level to what you've done now, and then international?
Ooh. What was our first national tournament? Our first national tournament was in Bossier Civic Center, and that's when I was 11 or 12 years old. It was a UTA event, and that was a really cool tournament because nobody knew who we were, because we just showed up out of the blue. We heard that there was going to be a big tournament in Bossier, and we're like, oh, that's right down the road from us. So we just decided to show up, and I messed up in my patterns. I didn't win anything in patterns, but I got first in sparring and won a cool ring. And Madeline, did you win anything in patterns, Madeline?
Yeah, I was 14, and I got first in patterns and third or second.
You
in
got
sparring.
second in sparring.
Yeah,
So.
I still believe I won that match. But anyway, that's here.
But right after that, we were put on the map. Nobody knew who we were, and that's when our national tournament journey started.
Yeah.
And to bridgeway into the international journey last year. So it all connects just from about, what was that, 8 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So you have two pieces really. I mean, you have three pieces. You have training, and then you have teaching, and then you have competition. And I would say training, I mean training like, I guess that would be two pieces technically. I guess training and teaching in gym, and then competition with people internationally now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Well, how did the opportunity come to where you guys would actually go try out for the international team, and then here recently travel overseas and compete and win some things?
Well, Madeline, go ahead. You can tell her.
Well, we didn't just stop there in 2016. We just kept competing. You know, a lot of people, they'll just go and do, like at our school, our rule is you have to compete in 3 tournaments before your black belt.
Okay.
So
I think that's, before we get into anything else, let's talk about that real quick, because I don't want to segue. I'm going to segue for a second, but I know what we want to talk about here, but I don't want to lose this thought. Mm-hmm. It's very important to highlight that you guys teach traditional martial arts, and then also that someone's going to rise to that rank, they have to do certain things other than just show up for an amount of time and then be handed a belt.
Right.
You guys are not the McDojos of the world. So let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll pick back up on that thought.
Okay. Let's talk about McDojos.
Yeah, or just talk about how you are different from every other potentially martial arts gym in the United States, not just locally.
We'll go ahead, Aiden. You love to talk about this.
Well, first of all, we're the first and only ITF certified HQ and union club in the state of Louisiana. And right away, if you know anything about ITF, they're the real deal.
Can you tell everyone what that is, too?
International Taekwondo Federation. That is the original organization where Taekwondo was created from. The General Che Hong He created the ITF, and things got political, and people branched off into an ITF, and then there was a WTF. But since the internet, it's just turned into WT, and then that's when ITF splintered off into Union, HQ, Europe, Asia. You have all these different America, all these different circuits now. But what separates us from pretty much, well, every Taekwondo school in Louisiana actually, is we are certified in HQ and Union, and we teach Taekwondo by the original or the latest copy of the encyclopedia. And I can tell you for a fact, no other school in the state does that.
And why do you think that's so important for people to know and to understand?
Well, you know, everybody has misinterpretation of things. They can read things out of context. And when literally the creator gave us a book of what to do, we want to follow what he meant Taekwondo, what he meant it for. We want to follow exactly word for word what he wanted it for. And people can go, well, I say people, a lot of Taekwondo martial artists can look at the book and say, oh, that's too hard, I don't want to do that. Well, you're not teaching Taekwondo correctly. Therefore, you can't call it Taekwondo, but then they do.
Good point. I like it.
So,
yeah. I mean, that's. I think it's completely accurate. I think that goes into anything, honestly, especially when it's something that is so specific of an art form. You know, there's a lot of different. People don't understand. People think if you're wearing that gi, dobak, whatever it is that that organization calls it, that you just all do the same thing. It's very hard to understand, especially from well, and rightfully so, because it's like anything else. If you're not educated in that realm, then you just assume what you see, and you're like, okay, well, I watched Karate Kid, or I watched,
exactly,
like you watch that, or you watch. I watched Three Ninjas when I was growing up, or whatever that show, like those little, whatever those movies. I don't remember the name of them, but yeah. Anyways, like they don't understand, that different martial arts have different techniques, and they have ways of doing things, and some are full contact and some aren't, and there's all these different things. Why do you guys think, or what do you think separates Taekwondo from other martial arts? Like I'll let you talk about this one. Like whether it be kung fu, karate, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai.
What separates like ITF Taekwondo from all the other martial arts? Well,
be careful here, man.
Let's create some controversy here. I love it, right?
Golly, okay.
No, I really would just say your personal opinion. Why are you passionate about it? And I'm sure, and I know you've actually participated in some of those other things. So,
well, I think it's more real life. Of course, there is kickboxing and
let's just move it back to like kung fu, karate, taekwondo. Let's just put it all in that box. That's the ones that gets the most controversy with each other.
Yeah. Well, Taekwondo is a military art, so it is the real deal. It was created to help the Korean people defeat the Japanese people. So I don't know much about Kung Fu and its background, but I do know that Taekwondo, what we do, not WT, that's more foot fencing. That's the Olympic sport. That's not real life. And I've actually had people tell me, like, hey, what we do in WT Taekwondo it's nothing compared to what you guys do. You guys are the real, like, that's the real Taekwondo, what it should be. And that's the WT martial arts telling us that. So, but yeah, we're just more real life, I think. Coming from a military art, it's the real deal.
Yeah. Do you got anything to add to that?
I would agree. Yeah, Taekwondo is more applicable to real life altercations, but in like karate, like when you see their forms or their katas or whatever they call them, they're very stiff and they're not relaxed at all. And then when they spar, they look like a Taekwondo martial artist. You ever notice that? Mm-hmm. When like point fighters, how they move how we move, and then when they're like karate combat, they move kind of how we move as well. What I think is a while ago they took things from Taekwondo when the splintering of the WTF and the ITF went. Then things were like, oh, Taekwondo's falling apart. We can take things that they do and we can call it their own, because karate hasn't had a big controversy within their organization of themselves. So they took some things that we do, like kicks, punches, the way that we spar, and they use it in their self-defense. But then when you look at their katas or their forms, it looks completely different from how they spar. When you look at an ITF pattern and then our way of sparring, they look similar. So karate's very strict, just it's hard to explain. It's not, there's no relaxation in it, and it's just stiff. and then when they spar, they're all relaxed. Whether as ITF, they're when they do their pattern, they're very relaxed, and then when they spar, they're very relaxed. So it's controversial because I feel like karate and kung fu might have taken some aspects and some things from Taekwondo a long time ago, and people just hadn't really realized it.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll have to look into that because I have no idea.
But that's my opinion. So
Yeah.
don't get mad at me. That's not.
Oh no, man. Well, I kind of want to see you guys like just what it is. I guess really, you're very well educated on it, but also your opinions on it. Josh, run this by us. Let's check out if there's any evidence of anything taken from Taekwondo and implemented into modern day karate or potentially kung fu. I would be on the fence about the kung fu thing.
Wait.
Yeah.
What's the question?
All right, so we were talking about what differentiates them from kung fu, karate, and Taekwondo. But what we want to know is, are specific moves used in karate that came from Taekwondo?
Dude, watch, you're gonna get debunked so hard.
I know. I feel like
It's okay, man. It's all right to have an opinion, but the good thing is, before people start arguing back and forth, we can find out what's up right now. I'll let him look at that. And like I said, I don't think I could slightly disagree on the kung fu thing just because I'm not sure which one predates the other.
Yeah.
Also, give us the longest.
Chinese kung fu predates everything.
Right, correct. So I wouldn't think that even if there's some modern day kung fu, I would, yeah.
Well, okay, hold on. As far as y'all's art form, I have links to stuff.
Yeah, well, just see whether you're, but more we're looking at modern day karate and their point spar if there's anything in relates to Taekwondo.
Guy's like a
going
wizard back over there, bro. You just passed your mac and cheese notes.
So let's get back into this international forefront thing. So you guys have competed since that day, which you were 14 and you were 11.
Yes, sir.
You've been competing actively since then. How often?
Ooh.
A lot. I mean, up until COVID, from 20. How old were we when we first started competing? I was
First started
5.
competing?
Yeah, in the UFMA. I was 5.
I was 9.
You were 9?
Yeah.
I was 5. So we're 4 years apart. So 5 tournaments every year.
Okay.
All the way up till we were 12, or I was 11, and she was 15. And then at that point, we did 6 tournaments every year, all the way up until COVID. And then after that, we kind of it dropped off a lot because a lot of organizations just shut down a little bit. But ever since then, we've been doing about 3 to 2 tournaments every year. So I mean, we've probably collectively been to over 50 tournaments just in our career so far.
Okay.
I would say more than that.
Well, yeah, that's in the low end.
And how these like results every tournament, like is it continuing to get better? Are you bringing home gold a lot? Like what does it look like?
Aiden brought home nothing but 5th places.
Listen, bro.
And there was only 3 kids in his division.
Out of 3 kids, I got 5th. Okay. Well, no, my first tournament, I got 4th. I got a 4th place medal, and Madeline left home.
He just cried about it.
Madeline left home with a first, huge trophies about as tall as I was, and I was like, bruh. What the frick? But I was crying a little bit, but
do we have some much historical documentation seems to indicate that some of these forms of open hand fighting may have been eventually exported to Japan and formed the basis for Japanese jiu-jitsu and karate. The Korean. Okay, so I'm not going to keep reading.
On youth group.
So I'm not going to keep on reading, but basically what they're saying is potentially that Taekwondo led to the art of karate and jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu, excuse me. Because Brazilian jiu-jitsu and Japanese jiu-jitsu are 2 completely different things.
Taekwondo.
Thank you, sir. Ohio.
Oh, nice.
Well, that's good to know so that we can, there you go, leave that on the table.
Yeah.
But go ahead, you're talking about awards and stuff.
Yeah, so my first tournament, I got 4th, now I got first, and I didn't really win anything for about 3, and then 2.5 years. When I was red belt, I finally started winning a little bit. you know, it wasn't nearly as much as Madeline is naturally gifted at Taekwondo. She might not.
Well, can you say that one more time?
Madeline is not naturally gifted at Taekwondo, so
We got the
Amen.
first one. We're gonna put it in sound
Yeah.
but and I'm like, I'm over here and I have to train for if I want to win something, I have to be in and I have to train months out to be prepared for it. I can't just walk in there and do it first try. So I didn't really start winning anything up until about red belt. Whether it's Madeline, she won
I'm just
something
the
her
natural
first
talent.
tournament.
So you're just top 3 all the time.
All the time. Well, with me, unlike Aiden, I would have smaller divisions because I'm a girl, and then the older and higher rank you get, there's less and less competitors, especially if you're female. So up until like when I was just gotten my 4th degree, I just got my 4th degree, and I was still competing, and I was over the age of 18. My division is a huge spectrum, so it would be 18 to about 35. Okay, but I would go in there and try to compete as a 4th degree, and there would be only me and one other girl. So I would automatically think like I'm gonna either get 2nd or 1st.
Yeah.
So, but then Aiden, he's still young and still lower rank and a dude, and he would have a humongous division.
Well, any guy division is going to be big. Like this last UTA Nationals, there was, I think there was 12 or 14 of us. It was one of the two, and it was a big division. I had to do my pattern like 4 times, and it's tiring. So Madeline definitely. Now, when there are bigger women's divisions, Madeline does do very well. But that's the thing, women just don't. If they want to do martial arts, as you know, if they want to do martial arts, they're going more into the UFC route.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that too, because you guys have actually trained with quite a bit of UFC fighters and sparred them. And how is that attributed to, if anything, have you been able to take anything from that and implement it into your competition?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me specifically what, please.
Well, I learned right away that I don't like leg kicks. So,
Tell us the story.
When Miss Andrea KGB Lee was getting ready for her UFC debut versus Veronica Macedo, we heard that, hey, this girl she's gonna fight has some karate or Taekwondo background. I think it was karate.
It was WT.
That was
Taekwondo.
WT Taekwondo, which is only kicks, strictly kicks. Well, punches to the body too. But and we got a call. It's like, hey, do your 2 kids want to come help us out? I'm 12 and Madeline's 16. We're like,
I remember this. I believe I remember this.
you want us to come help a UFC fighter try to get ready? And he's like, yeah. So we're like, okay. So we showed up and like I think I was the first one to spar Miss Andrea. And
well, you gotta tell us like how we got to the place.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if I can tell them that because it's like a compound.
It was crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. But you.
Okay, so we pull up at this dude's house, and I don't want to say his name. I don't want to say anybody.
He might be wanted.
Yeah, it's okay.
But we pull up the dude's house, and this guy rolls up in a golf cart with this little girl, and is like on the side of him, and he's like, "Hey," and we're like, "Oh my God, what's going on, bro?" We're in Shreveport, like in the kind of in the country of it, and he's like, "Hey, Andrew's back on over here, just getting warmed up. Why don't you guys hop on this golf cart? I'll take you back there to the barn." And we're like, okay. So we go back there, and believe it or not, I walk in the building, and she's getting ready, and then I see Mr. DJ there, and I'm like, oh, hey, I know that guy. And we get our stuff on, and I get in there, I have to spar first. We tack gloves, and she's like, puts her hands up like this, and she round kicks me, or kicks me right in my leg. She makes that huh noise, and I'm like, oh my God, bro, get me out of here. So, I do have one cool thing about that though, because one time we were sparring, and I grabbed her, and I turned her, and I put her up against the wall, and I was like, man, I'm really doing something. And then like a second later, she like flipped me around and put me up against the wall. So,
Well, I think she took you down, bro.
yeah, she did.
Yeah.
So from that into and you sparred her as well, and some other people too. Like from those interactions, what do you think you've been able to take and implement into the competition?
Cardio. Those guys have tremendous cardio. I mean, they're trained. I've watched a few UFC fighter training sessions, and they're just in 90-something degree weather or heat in a metal building. Always, it's never an air-conditioned building. You notice that? They always train in a metal building with the roll-up doors, and it's like they get in there and they're sweating. They've already done like 5 rounds of rolling, 6 rounds of sparring, and then their coach is like, "All right, let's do that again."
Yeah.
Like, oh,
and they always want to invite us out when it's like in the middle of summer.
Yep. Well, I mean, their cardio, I admire them for that. I wish my cardio was as good as them, but it's like they push themselves to a crazy limit, and they maintain it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably what I learned most from them, the toughness.
What about you?
Well, that's a good point. But what I learned was when I was sparring Miss Andrea, I learned that, I can't just strictly be... I mean, they wanted us to spar like how her opponent would spar, but it was tough.
Yeah,
like I tried to spar like how we spar on Thursday nights, and it wasn't working. Like what Aiden said, I was getting hit with leg kicks, and I couldn't kick anymore. And Taekwondo-Do's mostly kicking, so I learned that you have to switch your fighting or your sparring techniques up with those guys. You kind of have to be like a Swiss Army knife. You gotta have to spar Taekwondo guys like how you would spar a Taekwondo guy. But then when you would spar like a Muay Thai person, you kind of have to change your stance. You still need to use your kicks that you learned, the techniques that you learned in Taekwondo, but you have to change your stance so that you can block certain things. Like in Taekwondo, you don't do leg kicks at all. But that's all they do.
Well, I say that point sparring, you can't spar a full contact fighter like a point spar. ITF has great fundamentals for sparring those guys. I mean, you look at Stephen Thompson, Wonderboy Thompson. You see how he spars. That's how we spar. Now, every Thursday. So, and he, believe it or not, he has a karate background.
Yeah, well, I'm not
What the
Stephen
heck?
Wonderboy Thompson, bro. I'm just saying, like, that's what I learned. Hey, I didn't interrupt you when you were talking.
You know what, bro?
Continue.
So yeah, I just learned that I have to spar different ways. I have to change my stance. I have to hold my hands a different way. Like when we spar, in Taekwondo, I have one hand down here, like below my shoulders, and one hand that's kind of up here a little bit, even with my jaw, and they are like this, So it's just kind of, it's different. I have to spar them a little differently. So I had to, kind of learn how to do that at a young age. So
Yeah.
Well, I think it is important though. You said like you have to change your stance and things like that. That just tells me immediately, you're very body aware.
yes.
So that tells me also that apparently how you train teaches you to be that way, because any opponent you're going to have to fight different than the other one. Even if it's strictly in your martial arts, they're still going to have tendencies and ways that they strike and ways that they stand and
yes.
left versus right, and depending on power kicks and things like that, you're going to have to pivot your stance or whatever it may be, your defense immediately. And I think it's important to know, and for people to understand that too, that it's not just a thing where, okay, this is a karate guy or Taekwondo guy and he's fighting a mixed martial artist, and then he's not gonna be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you get that a lot, and there's some tendencies where that happens, where if that's traditionally all they've ever done and they're trying to mend that into MMA, well, it's just not going to work, because you have to learn the fundamentals of everything if you want to compete in this sport. Just like if you would take an MMA fighter and bring them strictly into your realm and say, this is how you have to fight.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, they have.
It's not going to go. It's not going to go well.
Yeah.
Because
they
you
have
can't
to change.
take down, you can't clinch. There's just things, in certain positions you can't do. So
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I've noticed too, sparring them when you pick up and you kick them, like tap them in the face, they get extremely mad. Like just like when they're like when you like kick their hand down and then kick them in the face, because they don't like to double kick without setting their foot down. So it's like when you do that, it's like you can tell it gets all over their face.
There's not a lot
on
of people that can do that too.
Yeah,
Man.
right.
So there's not,
Yeah.
he's over here just casually saying, "Oh, when you kick them twice without putting your foot down." I don't know if you guys know what that looks like, but it's very impressive. And not bust get your foot kicked out from under you in the process.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing in anything. I don't know if you guys watched his most recent fight with Sugar Sean. But basically, did y'all watch it?
I didn't watch it. No,
No.
I heard it was boring though.
So I completely disagree. I will say I'm one of the advocates of it's very hard for me to say a fight's boring when I know what's gone into it. Now there's been specific matchups that haven't gone that way, but will you pull up the information on that real quick? His most recent fight was this past weekend. I'll say this, that he was going against someone who had a plan. And he was trying to divert that plan the entire time. So imagine you're in a competition, you know this one person has these set weapons in his arsenal, and that if he gets to use them, he probably can beat you, he or she. So you want to do as much as you can to keep that from being an option. So when he fought Merab, basically he had the belt, they were fighting for the belt. But what we noticed, or what I noticed the most, is that he could never get comfortable enough to let go, because no matter what he tried to do, Merab was trying to take him down the entire fight. So every single time he threw, he's known for his amazing kicks. He has great kicks. When he throws these kicks, he's subject to be taken down immediately. Yes, so he's defending takedowns. So his mind goes from trying to beat you to immediately, I have to defend takedowns this entire fight. So it just changes the way that he fights. And I think if he fights him again, he'll do better. But that's what I noticed. I would say it was a long fight, but he did. I would say he won 1 or 2 rounds, and he delivered a body shot, I believe, in the 5th round or 4th. I thought it was 5th round, that he really hurt Merab like bad. Yeah. And if he could have just ran in and capitalized on it, but he was still a little timid because he was fear of the takedown.
Those takedowns. Yeah.
And it's not some. And then when he would get taken down, he was fighting a submission the entire time. Yeah. So, I would say if anyone's saying it was boring, they probably just aren't that educated on the martial arts, or they just were looking for a highlight reel, Yeah. And sometimes fights don't go that way, and it's just a matchup thing. Whereas now, since he's fought him, he lost, his title was up, he lost it. Now he'll have an opportunity for a rematch, and he'll know what he's up against. Right. Those are when they really get interesting, in my opinion. Like, you look at stuff like Adesanya and
Pereira?
Pereira, yeah. Like, you've had that. Like, the way that back and forth went so much, it was like high intensity. Okay, basically a chess match over the course of so many years. Like, okay, you won this one, I'm gonna try to win this one, and like, who's the best?
Yeah.
Well, Adesanya and Valentina Shevchenko both have ITF backgrounds.
She had a phenomenal performance.
Yeah,
she did great. Will you pull up those stats, Josh? It was just the fight right before that, right there. Wait. I can't see that far. So it's the most recent UFC. Most recent fight last weekend. I don't remember what it was.
What would your nickname be in the UFC?
It was the one in Vegas at the Sphere.
What would my nickname be?
Yeah.
Bro, I don't even
306.
know.
Yeah. What fight names? We made it this long and haven't come up with any fight names.
Somebody called me the Slim Reaper.
I like it. It just stuck, sir. You said it online. It's over with.
Somebody called me Slenderman too one time. I was like,
Slim Reaper. It is. We're sold on that. So pull up the stats on that fight, Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso.
Who called you that?
I don't know, but I remember somebody called me that.
Dude, that guy's a genius.
I love it. So what are we looking at here? So
man, this Grasso.
Can you zoom in a little bit, please, sir?
She's got one draw.
So I mean, you look at the strike. The strike count was very high, but she demolished her on takedowns. And when she did,
my God.
And when she did take her down, I mean, she almost got her rear naked like 3 times, 3 different rounds. Like, it was damn near submission at the end of each round, but she didn't quite have enough time. Yeah. But she's lost prior to her, but she got the belt back. So I mean, she did a good job. And she didn't get to do, I think she knew that Alexa Grasso has really good boxing. Shevchenko's, like you said, she has Taekwondo background, also competed in kickboxing.
Yes, sir.
So she still seemed to be a little timid from Alexa's boxing. So she was constantly pushing the takedown.
She had a plan.
Yeah, she had a plan. She stuck to it and won.
Yes,
and I'm talking about demolished her, completely unanimous. So yeah, sorry to sidetrack there.
That's all right.
I'll sit here and talk to y'all about fighting all day long. So, but it is important too, like, do people know that you guys are well versed in those things? You know those things as well. This is just not all you do. You train with those people. You know things about this stuff.
Yes, sir.
Let's get into this international game. Tell me how you guys got over to Europe and kind of what happened.
Oh dang.
So the day of, we got to.
Let's talk about how you qualified first. How'd you
Yeah.
get to there?
Oh well, I got a story, but go ahead.
I got a cool one.
Yeah, let's both.
cooler.
I got time for both.
All right, so how we got over there is the tryouts was going to be in Rockwall, Texas. Our head coach Robert Powell was hosting. Him and Grandmaster Wadley were hosting the tryouts for the UTA USA team in February, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, February. And we had known about this for months, since October of the year before. So we had a plan going in. We had a training schedule. We had a team from Benton Martial Arts training every weekend to go and try out for this USA team. And a few of us dropped out. That's fine.
How does that work? So tell me how they say. So do they look at your record or resume and say, okay, you're invited to come here to try out?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get there, what does that look like? Like, as far as that, you said your whole team, so all these people are, I guess, qualified, but it doesn't mean that you are all going to make it, and doesn't mean you're all going to be on a team together.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
sir, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Everybody, every high rank was invited to this tryout, but again, they did their scouting years before at tournaments, and they invited the people that they thought were a viable option.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
we got over there in February, and I started there was two categories. There's patterns and there was sparring. I got into the patterns, and I was number 8. It was cool. I had the number 8 bobby pin, or what's those things that you stick in?
Safety pin.
There you go,
Yeah.
safety pin. And I was number 8, and I had to do my pattern. I competed against. First off, I can't remember. I might have competed against David. David was our team captain on our team, and I smoked him, of course. But but I got him, and then the next round I competed against another Rockwall kid, Ethan, and then I competed. I competed about 3 times in patterns, and I did not lose. There was 2 guys that didn't lose in patterns. It was me and Tucker, and the sparring part started. And the thing was, the entire tryouts is you could not lose 3 times. If you lost 3 times, you're out. You're cut. And I didn't lose a pattern match, which is great. So I got into sparring, and I won my first match, and then I lost my next 2. So they pulled all the. There was 4 guys. It was kind of cool. 4 dudes got to take their gear off early, and they basically made the sparring team. So they're like, Alex, take your gear off. David, take your gear off. Ethan, take your gear off. Elijah, take your gear off. And they needed a 5th man because it's a 5-man team. So they pulled all the guys into a loser's bracket that was left. There was still about 11 of us left. And I ended up winning my next 3 matches. I won. I started out 1-3, 1-2, finished 4-2, and I made that last. It was sketchy, but I made that last tournament, or that last starting 5th man spot. So.
And you were in.
I'm in, yes sir.
Heck yeah.
Barely.
And what about you? How'd it go with you?
Well, I showed up, and Aang got the number 8. Of course, I got the number 7.
8's cooler.
Whatever.
It's always one up in you, bro.
Always. So walk in, they give us the number, and I look around to see if there's any other women. And before this, I had already been invited onto this team. Almost a year before that, because we went to a master's camp in Lake Jackson, Texas, and one of the girls that would later become our assistant head coach, her name's Haley Black, she came up to me. She was at that seminar. She's like, hey, there's going to be a a huge tournament that we're going to go to in England, and we're going to need women to be on the women's team, and I think you would be a good spot, or the person on the team. And before that, or as I heard that, I was like, yeah, whatever, because we've been told, like, hey, we're going to get this team together, this tournament's going to happen, and you need to be on this team, and then it never happened.
Yeah.
They never call us back, or the tournament would get canceled.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of brushed it out, like, yeah, okay, whatever. That's cool, but I don't think it's going to happen. And then a couple months later, we got the call. It's going to happen. I'm like, oh, shoot, okay. So fast forward to February. I look around, and there's a couple other women there. I think there was right at 5 that tried out. So I kind of did the math, and I was thinking, like, oh, okay, well, there's 5 women here. They need a 5-women team. If everything goes right, I'm going to make it. So we did patterns. I won all my matches, and then we did sparring, and I believe I won my first match. And my second match, I went up against this girl. She was 17 at the time. Her name's Gracie. And I was up on points on her, and I think she got kind of mad and upset, and I scored a point on her. The judges called break, and she hit me 4 times after the bell, and they were all the back of my head. And I got mad and upset.
Of course.
And she turned around and walked away like she did something. And I, with my professional self, took my right hand and hit her back in the head. I didn't hit her in the back of the head. I kind of went like a looping punch, and I hit her like on the side of her eye, like right here. And the judges went, oh, well, stop. We can't be having this. So I was upset that she was hitting me after the bell at tryouts. Like, dude, we have to compete in July. Like, why are you gonna try to hurt me at tryouts? And then I turned around and did the same thing. Anyways, so that happened. And after that, I had lost a few matches, and then won another one. And then we all took a photo at the end of the workout, and then I had to go up and apologize to all my judges. I apologized to Gracie, of course. And then we drove back home that night, and I was thinking, like, oh my gosh, what did I do? They're not going to allow me on this team for hitting a possible teammate. I'm done. And then a few days later, after the tryouts, they announced all the gold team members. There was gold team members and there was blue team members. Blue team means you were competing for USA, but you weren't like a starter.
Gotcha.
You were kind of more of an alternate, but you were competing for the country. The blue team members were all on the team events. Like, I was a gold team member because they announced all the gold team members, the starters. And I went through the whole list. I went, okay, oh, there I am. I was the very last person on that list. So it scared me a little. I was like, where's my name?
I wasn't. I was like first.
No, you weren't. So that's how my tryouts went for the international team. So.
And you did that, and that's how many months prior to the actual competition overseas?
Ooh.
It's in February, so we had to compete in June, right? June?
No, July.
July, sorry. So March, April, May, June, July, about 5 months.
Okay, so you get the when do you get the update that you made the team?
It was probably that we tried out Saturday, and we found out on Monday.
Okay, so pretty quick, and so then you're just like, for this time, now you're getting together with your new teammates and training for what you're going to do in England.
Sir. Yeah,
and so so you had a 5-month training camp pretty much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you get to England, and then tell me how everything goes, because this is kind of like the pinnacle of this whole thing. I want to hear how it goes.
So first off, there was, I think, 60 of us that went, 60 or 50 total USA competitors, and then England. We didn't know this, but England was just now starting to open up from COVID, just now.
Okay.
And there was about 30 or 40 of them, so we outnumbered them, which I thought was weird. Like, how is the home country outnumbered it baffled me. But then I heard that thing about COVID. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But when the tournament was about to start, we lined up outside of the venue, all USA and all of England, and the team captains had the flags at the very start of the line. And it went from shortest all the way to tallest. Of course, Madeline was in the front. And
No, I wasn't.
but I was like closer towards the back. And we were right next to the English guys, the English competitors.
Yeah,
like
it was kind of awkward.
It was weird.
It's like, hey,
and we were
guys.
just kind of sitting there like looking at one another and like waiting for the tournament to start, because we were supposed to all run into like a hype song and everything. It was going to get like lit up in there for a second. So, but we all like were looking around at one another, and somebody starts a USA chant at the front of the line, and we all start chanting USA, USA, and we're looking at these English dudes, and they're like, they start looking at us like we're crazy. And that was one of the coolest moments, because I could feel that they were the English guys were nervous, even though we were nervous. We didn't necessarily show it. And we ran in there. Both teams did. We lined up. We bowed, and they said, "Okay, let's get this tournament underway." And we handled up, and the little kids, our teenagers, kind of got, beat up, not bad, but pretty good. And it was an all-around competition.
What are the age? Give me the age.
So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
So those are three different. 7, 8, 9
Yes, sir.
is one category. 10, 11, 12 is another category. 13 to 15 is another category.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then anything over 15, you're competing with adults?
I'm sorry. It was anything, if you were 17, you would compete with adults.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
16 would be in with the kind of juniors. So
Gotcha.
I might have said that a little wrong.
It's all good.
But
But there's basically four.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was an all-around competition. You had to, if you won a gold medal for your team, if you won in sparring, then you would get a gold medal. If you won in patterns, you get a gold medal. And whatever country had the most gold medals at the end of every team event won the all-around huge trophy.
Gotcha.
So I could tell we were tied pretty close to the end of it. The men's and the women's was the very end. And I was like, well, this is getting kind of close. I can tell that they're beating some of our teams. We're beating theirs. And the whole tournament stopped. And we all got in this really big ring. And the head announcer said, okay, let's have the women. And you go ahead, Madeline.
Yeah, we were. It was the first time the women's team were gonna get showcased.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty exciting. Yeah, we got out there. We did our pattern. We did our team pattern. And the English team did their pattern. They had a really good team pattern. There was one girl on that team. Her name's Hannah Blake, and she's about 5'8" and this big around. And she's really good. She competes internationally all the time, way more than we do. So she was the team captain, and for their team. And then we did our pattern. We separated, and then the judges would point to the winning pattern. And I believe we got all 5 votes.
Yeah, 5-0, yeah.
Yeah, all 5. So we were like, great, now we got to spar. So with sparring, it was a little different than what we're used to. The team captains got to pick what side of the coin they wanted, heads or tails. The head ref would flip the coin, and then whatever side was called, that team got to pick who would go out first. Or who would go out, who they would pick after the other team would pick. So I believe they won the coin toss. And then, so I was, I was 4th to go out. And when I went out, we were up by, 13 points. We were up by 4 points when I went out. And when I went out, I went against Hannah. And I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. I had all these people chanting USA, USA, and all these people screaming. My dad's videoing like, "Come on, Madeline, you gotta flow," and I can't hear him. Oh, what does that mean? I don't even know what you're saying. There's only one dude that I could hear, and it was our head coach, Mr. Powell, and all I could hear him say was, "Sidekick, Madeline," and and I could sidekick because she would come in. She was very offensive, and I'm a natural defensive spar.
And she's and your height versus her height. Let's get a
Look.
Yeah.
Aiden would claim that I'm 4'11".
Your feet aren't touching the ground right now.
Shut up. It's not true. I am.
So yeah, you have a good night.
Mr. Josh, you ain't got
See, Mr. Josh just
Mr.
clarified
Josh.
it.
So he claims I'm 4'11". I'm 5'2". Okay, there are multiple people.
No, you're not. Okay.
This is my story, dude. There are multiple people that were witness to that. Okay, so I'm 5'2", and she's 5'8". And she was coming in. She was rushing, which is understandable because they were down on points. And if you're down on points, you got to rush in and get as much points as you can. So, but it worked great for me because I'm a natural defensive counter spar. And when she would come in, I would step back at the 4 o'clock angle, and I would pick up my leg and I would side kick. And then at this tournament, if you got a kick to the body, it was 2 points.
Wow, okay.
So a kick to the head was 3, and all punches, whether they were jumping or no, was 1 point.
Okay.
So when I left the ring, we were up by 8. And then I had another teammate come in. She was younger, smaller. She came in and we lost. But it's okay. It's all right, Alexis. I won't hold you to that. Oh, my bad.
It's all good.
I won't hold her to it. So we lost by 2. But it was really fun. I was mad at the time, but looking back, I was just thinking like, dude, why be mad? You're in England doing your first international tournament. Don't be mad. Just have fun.
So how did you guys end up? How did the women end up? Like, what did you win, or like, where'd y'all fall at, like in your category and all that?
Well, what do you mean?
Like, so y'all got second, of course, I'm assuming.
Yes, we got second because there were only two teams. There was the England team,
right.
the USA team.
So y'all lost that one.
Yeah. Well,
gotcha.
Yes, Mr. DJ, we lost.
Right. Well, I said second gracefully, but then you made it pretty obvious. There's one team and another team.
Yes.
Let's call a spade a spade.
We lost to the English people. But we got first in patterns. They got second in sparring. So in my mind, we're technically tied. So we just have to go back and, break the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So.
And what about you guys, Aiden?
Well, after the women lost, Mr. Powell yelled all the men's team over there, and he grabs us by our shoulders. He's like holding us real tight. He said some pretty bad words, and he's like, I'm tired of losing to these English people. So I'm like, okay. And he said, we're gonna get in there and we're gonna embarrass these fools. I'm like, okay, yes sir. So we all get in there, and the day before he told me, listen, Aiden, you're a kicker. I'm going to put you in at around third or fourth in the rotation. You're going to be my go and get points if we need them, because kicks are to the head are 3 points. And I was like, okay, yes, sir. We won the coin toss, so we elected for them to put out a fighter. That way we could strategize against them. They put out this 6'8" dude, and he's like 240, 250. He's huge. I think his name was John. And Mr. Powell comes over to me, and he's like, okay, Fulgium, you're in. So I'm like, what the? I was first in the rotation. We're going against every game plan we had went over.
So your strategy goes out the window there, but at that point, are you still, I mean, it's pretty tough to kick someone who's 6'8" in the head.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My thought process was, I'm still going to try to kick this guy to the head.
Okay.
That's my, it was hard to, but I was still going to try to do what my coach told me to. I got in there, and the crowd was kind of sad because the women's team had just lost. I mean,
it's the third time he said it.
When she said, okay,
dude,
all right.
We get it, bro.
When the women's team did not do as well as they planned to, does that sound better?
Yeah, that's nice.
It was like, it was kind of crushing. It kind of sucked because, I don't get too far away, because we knew we had that one, and when the men's got in there, the crowd was kind of dead, and them English people were like, they were living on cloud 9. I'm like, okay. So I turned around, I got the crowd pumped up again, and then we started. And started off moving around a lot, and he comes in, he knocks me down. He says, dude, I weigh 140, soaking wet. He outweighs me by about 100 pounds. Good thing it's point sparring, right? But he knocks me down, and I get back up, and my coach goes, side kick to the body. I said, yes, sir. So I got him a couple times to the body, and then still the plan was to get this dude in the head. So one time I moved back, and I picked up lead leg hook kicked him to the head, and they scored 3 points. I was like, okay, I got my job done. That's all I needed to do. I ended up winning that match 9-3. The second guy came in, David, team cap, came in, and he put us up 25-5. So at that point in time, the English were like, they weren't very happy at all, and the Americans were on cloud 9. And their top dude from England came in, Luke, and he was good, very exceptional martial artist. And he, our guy Grant came in, and by the end of that match, you'll just have to watch it. By the end of that match, it was tied 25-25. He'd scored 20 points in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, imagine if you just put that in perspective. You two for a kick, 1 for a punch, 3 for a head kick.
Yeah, and you have to be moving 1 minute and 30.
Yeah,
and it's not like they're just standing. It's not like Grant wasn't just standing there. He was moving around. So it's like you have to hit a moving target and score 20 points in 1 minute and 30. And somehow that freaking English muffin did it, bro. Okay, listen, all right, but he did it. He got him. But and I like Luke. He's a cool person. But it was 25-25. Elijah came in, our fourth guy, put us up 31-28, and then after that, I was like, okay, we got in the bag, because I know our last guy, Alex, I know he's going to handle it. I've sparred Alex. I've known Alex for a long time, and Alex is a big dude, and he had to spar their team captain. And he, at one point in time, late in the match, Alex picked up, spun side kick, missed the Englishman, and this dude comes in trying to punch Alex to the head, but Alex regroups and side kicks him, and the guy, he jumped and punched, and when Alex side kicked him, he fell onto the ground, and it made a loud bass drum noise in the entire arena. And at that point, it was like, oh yeah, America's gonna win, and we got them 36-31. So by far the coolest martial arts experience I've ever had. And
so you guys take home
first. Oh, I forgot to mention patterns. We won in patterns 4-1, 4 votes to 1. And we felt good about our pattern. They had a great pattern, but we knew that we could get them, because there's a couple guys on their team that probably couldn't kick as high as us. So David said, if we just stick our kicks, and this mat doesn't go out from underneath us, because when we were practicing, the mat would shift around, and it would make us like fall. It's like, man, them English are trying to trick us, man. They're trying to cheat. But we ended up we slipped in the pattern. I slipped doing it competing, but I regrouped. It didn't look like I slipped at all, but I slipped. But we got that 4-1. So gold and gold.
So you do all this, get there, and you only have one chance to fight. One chance to spar, one chance to do your pattern.
And team.
Yeah.
And
team. That's insane. And then in singles, how does that work?
In the individual, it's a bracket system, so you spar as many times as so if you win, you move on, you spar again,
right.
Spar again, depending on how many people are in your division.
And how did that? There was no individual stuff at this one.
There was.
Oh, well, how did that go?
Madeline?
With the girls, I had a pretty big division. I think there was 5 or 6 of us, and my pattern is 61 moves long. It's named Moon Moo. It's a 4-3 pattern. And if any of you guys out there that do Moon Moo, you know the struggle when you have to do Moon Moo
it sucks.
2-3 times in a row. So I got out there. I did my Moon Moo. I didn't think I did it very well, because I did bobble a few times. But with the individuals, instead of pointing like they did in the team patterns, they had a score sheet, and they would hold up your score. and they would start it at a 10 and then work it all the way down to a 9. So you had, 9.9. That was like if you did it really good. And then if you got a 9, it was like,
Awful.
you sucked.
Yeah.
So I believe I got some 9.2s, 9.3s.
Dang.
What?
You said 9 was really bad. Then your pattern.
That's the third time you've interrupted me, bro.
I would just call it feedback. I wouldn't call it.
Yeah, exactly. See?
I told you, I feel like I didn't do it very well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was awesome. So I got out. I went out of the ring, and then an English girl came over, and she did her moo, and it was pretty good. It was a little fast for my taste, but she went out,
She
and
was
then
Scottish, man.
no, no. I talked to her. You know what? One more of those, man, you're grounded.
All right.
We might have a little bit of sparring action going here.
Dude, I'm telling you, it never stops. No, she's from England. Her and I talked after we competed against each other. And then she exited the ring, and then I went against one of my teammates. Am I allowed to drop names?
I don't care. This is your show.
No, you're not.
Because you just dropped a whole bunch of names.
Yeah.
English muffin and all that.
people already know. So I mean,
Okay.
by the
So-
time this comes out, they already know now if they were there. So who cares?
What's funny is what's totally baffling to me is this girl that I competed against. Her name's Peyton Arnold, and back in 2016, our first UTA national tournament, I competed against her in patterns and sparring, and we were both 14, 15 at the time. And then flash forward to England, we're competing against each other. It's crazy how martial arts works. So she gets out and she does the pattern below mine, which is Ulji. It's got 42 moves in it. And she does a pretty good Ulji. It needs some work, Peyton. But anyway, that's a joke. She exited the ring, and then the judges come over to me and they say, "Okay, ladies, you have tied for first." And no, I'm sorry, you have tied. So you're gonna have to do your pattern again. Like,
That's pretty
That's
good.
a
What?
pretty good impression there.
Yeah.
thanks, guys. But I had to do moo again. I was like, dude, I don't want to do moo again. And they didn't even tell us. At the time, they did not tell us what we tied for. So I didn't know if we tied for third, first. I was
Yeah, I
like, okay,
got
you're just
you.
going to leave me hanging like that. So I tied with the English girl, with her moo, and I went out and did it again. And she went out and did her pattern again, and they voted for me. I believe I got 3 votes to 2 for her. So I got first in individual patterns, and then I did point sparring. Point sparring, they went by height and weight, which was different because I've never competed in a tournament where they went by height. You know, I've always competed against girls that are taller than me. So it was kind of nice. I got to compete against girls that were my height and my weight.
Did that throw you off?
No.
Really?
No, it was actually, I don't want to say it was easy because it's never easy sparring someone, but it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice for a change. I didn't have to spar against, I'm 115. I didn't have to spar against a 150-pound girl. So I sparred my first match. It was actually the English girl that I tied for with my pattern. And she was good. She won. Barely. I think there were some points that were miscalled for me, but it's okay. And then I had to go up again against a red belt girl that was from Scotland. And since we were both high, equal height, I could, kick to the head and stuff. So I was able to win. Why are you laughing? It's hard to kick a 5'8" person in the head, isn't it?
No, not for me.
Okay. Well, whatever.
That's 6'8". That's 6'8"
that was
rough,
pretty
though.
tough. Yeah.
there you
Yeah, it's tough. So it was nice. I ended up winning that match. So I got third in point sparring. My teammate Peyton, she got third in patterns, and she was taller than me, so she got to compete against taller and bigger girls in the next weight division, and she ended up doing well. She got first as well.
So you took home a first in pattern. She took home a first in sparring. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 first golds from you guys.
Yes, and then she got a third in patterns. I got a first in patterns. So
Sweet.
It's pretty cool.
Hell yeah! So you did win something.
I did win. Yeah. Who's out there saying I didn't win anything?
No, I'm messing with you. No,
Okay.
You did great. No, that's awesome.
Thank you. All right, well that makes sense.
And Aidan, so how'd your single stuff go?
I got first in patterns. There was they were beforehand. They had the matchups already pre-existing on this little app called the Keop app, so I could see who I was going up against. And my friend, the team captain, David, they know that me and Madeline are their pattern guys. That we're the best at pattern. And I don't want to sound bad when I say it, but we're their pattern people that they put out there to look good during patterns. And now sparring, it's probably going to be different, but patterns were their guys. And I was going up against David. It's the Keop app said I was going to go up against David. And oh no, I take that back. That was the UTA tournament. No, I'm sorry. This tournament, they so scratch that. This tournament, you just got up one at a time. Why didn't you catch me? What I was saying.
She don't interrupt you like you do her, man.
Yeah, dude. Equality.
Anyways, all right.
He's been hitting the head a lot.
I had a senior moment for a second, but so we get up at one at a time. But my USA guys are like saying, Aidan, listen, we'll buy you fish and chips if you mess up on your pattern. I'm like, no, why? Like, because we want to win. I'm like, no, bro, I'm not going to mess up on my pattern. They asked me that a couple of times, but I got out there and I won first in patterns. There's a English dude that did a great pattern, and he got second. It was actually pretty close, but he got second. And in individual sparring, I had Luke, before mentioned, and in my division. I had David in my division. And I had a few other guys in my division, a Welsh and another Tucker, USA guy was in my division. And I had to spar 3 times. I won my first match and then against a Welsh, and then I had to go up against Tucker. And Tucker came out swinging, man. I was like, man, this guy's on something. But then he told me beforehand, he's like, yeah, I drank one of those bucked up energy drinks, the one that was like, extreme, like had the label that said consume at your own risk on it. I'm like, okay, so that's why you're real wiry in that ring, Nick, because he was. But I got him, and then David, I told David, I was like, David, we're gonna spar one another in the finals, so you better beat that Luke dude. He's like, okay. So he went out there, and in my mind, I'm like, David's about to get smoked, bro. But David got out there and clutched up, actually. He won 2-1. It was really low scoring. It was a lot of defense. He won 2-1. I was pretty hyped for him. But in the finals, me and David got in there, and I got him. It was like 6-2. So I got first in patterns and first in sparring.
Sweet. And so you guys, everyone brought home some gold.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, what do you think was probably the best thing about this entire experience together to do this as one as a family, too, and as a team?
Man, I really enjoyed the sparring, like team sparring with all the crowd getting in tune with it, because I've never been to an event where there was a huge crowd wanting to see Taekwondo. It's always been like in a gym where there's 3 or 4 guys looking at you like this, and then there's like 3 or 4 dudes you're competing against. But when there's a stadium that's packed full of people, or like bleachers are packed full of people, and they're chanting your name and the country you represent, that's probably the best thing, competition wise. Now, going to France and all that, Paris with my family, that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
So,
anything to add to that?
I just liked training with people who wanted to do good, who wanted to win, and who, like when we first tried out, I knew those guys. Like I knew like who they were, but I didn't like really know who they were, who they had become. I knew who Peyton was and her family, but I didn't like really know a lot about them. And then you spend 5 months with those guys and gals, competing at the UTA before England, and you get to know them, you get to hang out with them, and they become your friends, dude. And it's just awesome. You didn't have any of that before. Like you didn't, y'all weren't close. We weren't close, before tryouts, and then after it's like, you compete with those guys, you shed blood, tears. You train hours with those guys, and it's like, now we're all good buddies. Now we all train together. I just trained with them a couple weeks ago in Texas, because we're all going to do more of that together.
So you think you're going to transition to more team sport, team competitions, and less singles, or do you guys still want to do both?
Both. I say both.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
I like doing the teams. I like doing the individuals. I think you learn more when you do individuals because it's all on you.
Right. Yeah, teams can be frustrating because if someone makes a mistake, the entire team has to carry the burden. And sometimes it's hard for people to deal with that, especially if you've only done a single sport your entire career,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it does help you grow as a martial artist, I would say.
Yes. I totally agree to that. We're going to do, as long as we have the teammates to do it and the drive to do it, we're going to do both. I'm going to do both. I don't know about this guy. But all right, dude.
I'll do it, bro.
Well, before we wrap this thing up, guys, I'm excited to get to hear about all this stuff, and also just to watch you guys grow. Like I get to see y'all, every couple of months, and it's awesome to see what y'all have done since you've been, little in the gym, playing video games in the corner. So, like, it's pretty awesome.
We're those
man.
little iPad kids that are really annoying.
No, dude, y'all were never
Bro,
annoying.
you.
Y'all were never annoying, but no, congratulations. Like from me to you guys, congratulations, and I'm proud of you guys. And before we get done, let's talk about this event coming up. Typically, I don't hype local stuff here because our following's so broad, but at the same time, this is something that is literally international, so I want to talk about it. You guys have a documentary coming out about this entire experience and everything that predates this leading up.
Yes, sir.
And this episode is actually going to drop the week of that documentary being released, so that premiere. So if you guys want to talk about it.
Oh, talk about the documentary?
Yeah, or just the premiere of it. We'll leave them hanging on what all it's going to entail.
Right. Well, I can't really. It's I'll tell them one thing.
Yeah.
Olive Garden stock is going to go up after this documentary. But
oh my gosh.
that's the one thing I'll say. But no, man, it's going to be freaking awesome, and we're gonna have a lot of our people there, and I want everybody to come. Taekwondo is so high tense situations, competing and training, and you get in there and you work out. It sucks for about 45 minutes. Sometimes competition sucks for all day. You're just sitting there hydrating, waiting. You see your competitors, the dudes you're going to compete against, walk past you, and maybe they bump into you or they say something mean to you, or heck, I even had one of them throw a burrito at me one time in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was like, what's wrong with this dude? But what's going to be cool about this is our people will be able to come to an event that we're hosting, and it'll be relaxing. And you'll just be able to hang out, learn Taekwondo, but it not being a high-tense situation. And I think everybody's going to need that. And I think they're going to really think it's cool. So.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I just hope that when they watch it, they think to themselves, oh, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
And I hope that they come to us for that. So, now that we've competed, we have, all of a sudden now, we have these ITF federation, or, all these organizations that are contacting us, like calling us up. Like, we just had one guy call my dad up the other day, like, hey, if you want to send your 2 kids over here, they can be on this team, and yada, yada, yada for the Americas. And we're like, we'll think about it. So it's not just us anymore. They're wanting us also to bring our students. So I want our students to watch it, and random guy off the street, I want them to watch it too and think to themselves, I want to do that. I want to do what they're doing. And the only way I can do that is to go to them, and we'll help them. We'll teach them.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap it there.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy the time, guys. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome.